Yes, so now the time is 12:30 European time, and I would like to welcome everybody for this very interesting event with NeoDynamics. And with me today, I have the CEO, Anna Eriksrød, and the newly CFO, Aaron Wong. And just a couple of practical issues for the audience today. If you want to post some questions to the company, please do that in the lower right side of the window, and I will address the questions to Aaron and Anna during their presentation. So let's start up. I will hand the word to Anna and Aaron. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you very much, Klaus. It's an important moment now. We have both the 12-month report to address today and also to address our rights issue. But as always, it's important to repeat in what area are we working, and we are working in the cancer area, and to encourage people to get an early diagnosis. There is one of our hospitals that is actually a customer of ours that has written in their entrance, there is no management of cancer without a biopsy. And it's there where we have our pulse technology that is unique. So what they see here, hospital by hospital, is a paradigm shift in the diagnosis of breast cancer. And I think it is important to take a brief on our company as such, because we have a technology that is the basis for all what we do. We call it the pulse technology, and that enables the tissues to be taken, that it gives larger samples thanks to the control of the needle. It is also possible to go into areas where you today avoid biopsy because it's dangerous. And here we can offer an alternative to surgery, and it is user-friendly. The area we have mentioned is the biopsy area. It's a conventional area where there is no dispute of the need of a biopsy. And the detection of cancer is, of course, increasing with more and more countries that have the screening, as we have here in Sweden or in Scandinavia. But there is also another part that is very interesting, and that is the precision medicine that is coming more and more. The big oncology pharma companies that offer fantastic results with their products. However, if you don't have a correct diagnosis, of course, no help whatever with a magic management. So more advanced treatments require closer monitoring, and that's where the biopsies actually come in, and they use it even more today than earlier. Our business model as a company is to prove commercial viability through reference centers. That's where we can be as strong as a larger company, because you need a few salespeople that act and create these reference centers. And then we are prepared to discuss with either an out-licensing alternative or a distributor agreement. We start with breast cancer, and breast cancer is well known for any, let's say, woman. But we have also other areas where they use needle biopsies, such as prostate cancer, liver, etc. And of course, we are interested to see how our product is behaving also there. Our market access today is that we have a product that is CE approved. We have initiated our commercialization. We are very focused. We are not spreading thin, as we call it. We are focused on a few centers where we run our clinical study program. We have senior people that work with us, and we have today a possibility to prove, so to say, a commercial viability here in these key centers. And from that, we have a good chance. Here you see active customers, but I think it is important to remember this is not to sell a tablet. That is quite another ball game. Here we talk about introducing doctors to a technique which most of them are very, very happy to see. It improves their skill set. It improves the possibility for the patient to get an early diagnosis. And we have so far got very positive feedback even though we have been, so to say, influenced, of course, by the pandemic situation. So may I just run through the most important milestones before I leave over for Aaron to address a bit of our numbers. So first of all, this year, we continue to work on our key centers to create these reference centers that can, so to say, pinpoint of the benefits of our Neonavia. As we wrote in the 12-month report, we are to submit our FDA file in a few weeks' time. It's very exciting, especially in the medtech area, because US is the market that drives all other, so to say, markets. And we count on with the 510K that we will even be able to commercialize by end of the year. We have a very interesting clinical program, and in 2023, we count on both an agreement with a partner, a sales partner, but also that we can deliver the results, the early results from the comparative study in the UK, COMPULSE study, and we have the publication of the PULSE study in Germany to be ready 2023. I should also, as mentioned, the new indications that we should be able to touch on a possible, so to say, extended indication in 2023. China finally is important. We have two strong Chinese owners, and they have been patiently waiting. Of course, they are waiting first of all for the FDA approval, because that will help a lot in China. But we will start the regulatory process now this year, and we count on an approval and to be able to commercialize in the big continent of China then in 2024. So it's exciting times. A lot will happen during this year and the following years. I think interesting for also the stock market. And now I leave over for Aaron here to continue.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Anna.
Should I post a couple of questions before you start, Aaron?
Okay.
I have at least two questions here. Anna, first of all, could you very briefly update the audience on the difference between the PULSE study you do in Germany and the COMPULSE study, the comparison study you do in England?
Yeah. It is. The PULSE study is already now reported. All patients are in. We have even had abstracts presented both at the British Society of Breast Sonography, and then now also recently approved for a US presentation. That is from the PULSE study. It is a one-arm study, 140 patients. In this context, a large study, I would say, and very interesting because we break new grounds. You test in the armpit what you can do, and you can actually replace surgical procedures. In the COMPULSE study, that's what we run in the UK. That is even a larger study of almost 400 patients. It's a comparative study between the standard today, a spring-loaded needle, and then they compare that with our FlexiPulse needle. So finally, if you look from the horizon of the partner, you will also have a possibility to see a comparison with a standard needle today.
Which is a very strong documentary you can show up there. Very briefly, Anna, so you participated in this conference with the British Society of Breast Radiologists in autumn 2021, and I know you got some very good feedback from the society, but just to cover everything, you saw some adverse effects also. Could you, for the audience, just elaborate a little on what kind of adverse effects do we see, and is that severe in any case?
It's not significant at all, I would say. It's a safe product, and what we saw was rather that it ensures that you are not punctuating any nerves or blood vessels. So they were quite fascinated with the results we had and could present. So our German centers are very positive to to continue to work with the FlexiPulse needle in the armpit, as they are not today able to do that in that context with existing present needles.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong signal as well, and especially when you apply for FDA, they normally, of course, everybody, even EMA, look into risk reward, but if the adverse effect is insignificant, then it's a very strong data package you will show up probably. So, no, thanks a lot, and I will hand the word over to Aaron. Please, Aaron, go on.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Klaus. So the financial summary for 2021, we had some sales of 2.1 million SEK, up from 0.8 the prior year. And we've started to see now traction in our markets, our European markets, especially in the UK and Germany, which is very pleasing to see and positive signs. On our net side, our net loss was 67.7 million versus 31 million versus last year. And this was primarily driven by the capitalization of our intangible assets last year as we sort of finalized the commercial product in itself. Earnings per share minus 1.12 versus last year minus 1. And cash flow from operations, we were down minus 46.8 million versus minus 36.5 in 2020. Again, due to higher operating losses in 2021 versus 2020, which is driven, as I mentioned, by the capitalized expenditures. And then our cash position at the end of 2021 was 24.2 million SEK, which brings me nicely on to our rights issue, which we have undertaken or are undertaking at the moment. And the rights issue is a subscription ratio of 1-to-1, meaning that each share owned immediately prior to the subscription period will give existing shareholders the right to purchase an additional 1 share at 1 crown and 15 öre. The record date is March the 4th, with a subscription period of between March the 9th and March the 23rd. And the use of proceeds, when we look at the rights issues, primarily marketing and sales activities in our European countries, with 81% of the amount going towards that. And then we have an additional part of product development and registration process in China. And then we have a kind of a small part, around 2% of investments in some fixed assets and additional working capital. And I guess what I want to talk a little bit about next, sort of my final slide, is kind of why to invest in NeoDynamics. And I mean, really, we're aligned with the trends in cancer care, and we have well documented high degree of innovation and strong IP. And what I want to follow with is that we really are an innovator and not a follower, meaning that new products tend to offer better performance, for example, better outcome for patients, and it's also easier for clinicians and doctors to use. We are underway with the introduction of specialist sales teams and partnerships with leading clinics. And sort of what I understand is that, you know, generally over time, medtech companies do tend to perform better than other industry segments during broader difficulties in the market downturn. Obviously, with COVID, we've been kind of restricted with our access to clinics, but now we see them opening up with more recent news from the UK, with restrictions sort of starting to come to an end. And I mean, as we move forwards through this year and we look towards the US market, with the filing of the FDA documents and hopefully the approval within short, we will gain market access to a much larger and an untapped market for NeoDynamics. So very exciting things going on in the company, and certainly 2022 will be a very interesting year for us. And yeah, I think for me, that's my slide.
Yeah, good. But then we open up for questions from the attendees. But of course, I have a couple of questions I could address until then, Aaron.
Yes.
So I fully agree with you. You are a medtech company. First of all, time to earnings is of course closer than if you're within biotech, where you need to go through the normal phase 1, 2, and 3 with the authorities. You have a very promising data so far, and you're going to roll out the product now, Aaron and Anna. And in that respect, you mentioned in the announcement for a couple of weeks ago about subscription issue. You mentioned CapEx. So to produce the units, both the handheld units and the big unit of the NeoNavia, how are you going to produce that, and what kind of CapEx demands do you have on that hardware, Aaron and Anna? Could you elaborate a little on that so we could learn more about the company?
Well, I mean, in terms of the actual development of the product, I mean, we are pretty much with a finalized commercial product now. So, I mean, you'll notice that in the 2020 numbers, we've capitalized a lot of the costs associated with the product in itself. That being said, the expectation moving forwards in terms of future capital expenditures will be towards our new indications, as Anna touched on, within the prostate and other areas of the body. That being said, I think it's kind of important to emphasize that we are focusing primarily on the full commercialization of this system, the NeoNavia system. So I wouldn't say CapEx is taking any such back seat, but it's not the kind of necessarily number one priority in this year, at least.
Good. Interesting. So yeah, with that said, I just have to see if there's any questions from the audience. There's no questions yet. So maybe we could get back to you, Anna, and talk a little about the US and the filing in US. How my impression is that the insurance companies in US are normally setting the price, at least for normal treatment. Is this the same when it comes to biopsy and hardware solutions as NeoNavia, or how does it work in US?
I think we can say that we have experienced people that we work with now to select senior salespeople that will work with us now with the initial phase. A handful of people, not more. We will work from top down. It's very important, especially here where the geography is so big. You need really the top Emory University, etc., Atlanta. You have them in New York, in California, who have their network or satellite universities that follow what they do. So this is our task number one now this year, to engage the top doctors in NeoNavia. Again, sales will come later. I need to say that, but the most important here is to give the shareholders some milestones on where we are, with whom we work, what university centers we work with, and they will then set the pace, because this is what a partner will look for. They want to know with whom you work. You can't go to the average urologist and start there. That will not pay, so to say, for us. Secondly, in the US, it is always more expensive than you think. You should not be naive about that. That's why we do this rights issue. And we know that we can have a very good compensation and charge, because their code system is favorable for an early diagnosis, for replacement of surgery as such. So the insurance companies will work with us. That's what we have found out so far.
Yeah, because I remember from an earlier event, Anna, that you told me one thing is that you can treat and get a better treatment plan for the patient, but you actually save money for the system as well. So as we know, in Europe, you have a lot of public clinics, but in US, In UK, I think it's more normal that you have private clinics. But if you can save money for them, you also save money for the insurance companies in US. So it's a win-win, more or less.
Yeah. There is always a business drive in the US that we don't see in the European public setting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still no questions here from the audience today, but I can
for today,
yeah, I can see here. So well, then let's talk a little more about China. You mentioned China, Aaron. Maybe you could talk a little about that, or Anna can do that.
Do you want to start off, or?
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously set aside some funding from the use of proceeds for the registration in China, which we anticipate to happen sort of towards the end of this year. However, the kind of commercialization side of the business won't be until 2024, as Anna's kind of pointed out in the milestones. Again, as kind of we've touched on, we have board members both kind of working and operating in China. So we do have an advantage when it comes to kind of market penetration, which I know can be a difficulty for some countries that don't have any kind of operations in China already.
So you mentioned you can piggyback a little on registration process from US. Is that how the Chinese system normally works, or is it?
Yeah, Klaus, it is like that, even though we can't really draw that conclusion out of the political environment today. But in the medical field, yes, they follow the US FDA, their products, how they approve and not approve. So to have a product that is approved by FDA means that you can enter with much more confidence. Then again, it's not only the quality of the file and the FDA approval, but also the network in China. I would say it's very, very important. Our owner, Y, is working in the healthcare sector, has already salespeople out in the women's health area. And we are very pleased that they were part of the guarantor team, which is very important for us. They are back on track, as we call it. Yes. And they see with interest how we can, if possible, even use the European data in China, if we handle the contacts in a good way. So let's see now what is happening end of the year, but we start the regulatory process now. So at least that is very good news, I think, for those that are interested in Asia and the large potential there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and so the Chinese market, you will of course work with hospitals as well, specialized universities, the same rollout as you did in Europe and you going to do in US. You will follow the same path, more or less. Yeah, good. There's no questions right now from the audience, Anna, and I think I covered more or less my questions. Is there any final notes we should be aware of? I think Aaron did a good job just telling briefly about the share issue. Is there anything here at the end we should be aware of? Or?
No, we have our extra general what is EGM meeting? Yeah, it's now on Friday.
Yeah, the 25th. Yeah, you have extra. Yeah,
we have, and then we have the deadline for our owners to what do you call it? Apply, submit that they want to join at GEM, and that deadline is the 23rd. So I can encourage everybody to either submit a proxy or come themselves on Friday.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot. But with those words, I will like to thank first of all Anna and also Aaron. Welcome on, Aaron. Really look forward to meet you in the future as well. Yeah. And I would like to thank the audience as well. And then enjoy your day, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.